I can start by introducing myself. Let me see this. My name is Anita Pacheco. I work at Qorvo in Richardson. And this talk, I'll basically going to just talk about a bit about me, and then about Qorvo in general and the company, and then kind of get into working there, what I do there, some different types of jobs there, and that kind of thing. And yeah, I intend to talk for maybe 15 minutes, and then like the rest of the time, any questions you can ask, feel free. So I'll just talk a bit about myself. I was born in Peru. I came to the US when I was 3. I mainly grew up in California, so Texas, even though I've been here for been in Texas for like 12 years, but I've mostly grew up in California. So I went to Cal, and got a degree in electrical engineering and material science. So I figured, I knew I wanted to do semiconductor and go into that industry. So I got my bachelor's in EE and in material science. And then I knew I wanted to go to grad school. So I did a master's and PhD in EE. And my thesis was in electrical degradation of RF power gallium arsenide PHEMS. And I know that's like a total mouthful. So I already had from my graduate school a background in doing 3-5 semiconductors, and that eventually is kind of what led me to go to TriQuint, which is at the time Qorvo. It was TriQuint, and then in 2015 we became Qorvo. So yeah, so that's kind of a bit about me, about my education, and then after graduating, I had 2 kids born in 2010 and 2011. So I took a couple of years off work just to manage that. So yeah, my kids were a year apart. And when they were a little older, I started working at TriQuint and in Richardson, working there full time. And I've been there at Qorvo ever since. And so, yeah, so basically I'm a mom, wife, engineer. Last year I got a Tesla, so that was a huge thing. And yeah, this is last year at the state fair, Texas State Fair, showing off, a bunch of us were showing off our electric vehicles. So that was fun. And it's just kind of cool to see all that technology, working on technology and then seeing technology, in action, that kind of thing. So that's always cool. And so, yeah, so I've been working at Qorvo since 2012 at the Richardson site. I'm guessing many of you are familiar since it's so close by to UTD. And so now we actually have multiple sites, but I'm at the site, at the Renner Road site, which is a fab where we fabricate semiconductor chips. This kind of just shows, this picture just shows the clean room, typical clean room that we have, fabbing the wafers. So I don't work in the clean room. I never really worked in there, but that's one of the many people work in that side, and doing the fabbing the wafers and chips. So I'll talk a little bit about Qorvo now. Basically, we're an engineering-driven company. Our tagline is, innovative RF solutions for everything that connects our world. We make products in many things, supporting, for supporting 5G, the Internet of Things, and for next generation space and defense systems. So we work a lot with the government, and as well as defense contractors. And in terms of size, we have about 80, a bit over 8,000 employees across the world. And we're an S&P 500 company. And so, yeah, we have various locations, a headquarters in Greensboro, North Carolina. And we have locations, so we have the Richardson, actually we have 2 sites in Richardson. We have the site where I'm at, which is where the fab is and where all like the packaging is. And then the other side on Campbell Road is like, it's the headquarters of one of the business units. It's more of like the corporate headquarters for IDP, which is the Infrastructure and Defense. So yeah, we have those sites, and then we have another site in Farmers Branch, which is where a lot of the failure analysis is done, and on devices and things like that. So, but yeah, we're a very global company. We have sites all over the world. Okay, so in terms of like the business units, there's like 2 big business units. There's like on one side, there's the mobile product side, and then the other side, there's the infrastructure and like defense product side. So for the mobile side, we make chips going, into 4G and 5G smartphones, things going, for wearables and tablets. So a lot of different things, types of filters, supporting antennas, and then envelope tracking is another big one. Yeah, so that's one big aspect. And then on the other side, this is the one that I'm in, it's the infrastructure and defense products. We call it IDP. And so that's infrastructure, so like base stations, things like that. And then also supporting defense products like radar and communications. And that includes like gallium nitride and gallium arsenide, power amplifiers, BOF filters, which is bulk acoustic wave, and all these different types of modules, system on a chip, advanced packaging, basically things supporting, the Internet of Things, the automotive, connected cars, all that. So yeah, the motto is, connect and protect. So basically, communications, and then also on the defense side, we work a lot with the government, and then also defense contractors. And so to kind of talk about a little bit of what I do, I work in IDP, which is the infrastructure and defense, and I work on the R&D side. So it's research and development. I started at Triquint, it was Triquint at the time, as a research engineer. So I did a lot of reliability investigation of new GaN technologies. So basically, whenever we, come with a new technology, it's basically there's a lot of testing that we need to do to mature the technology before we start ramping up and producing these devices, these chips on in a large volume. You have to do a lot of testing, like reliability, just making sure, that these devices are, they're going to last, that they meet the spec, and all that kind of thing. And then kind of figuring out, like, well, why, do these devices degrade? Why do they degrade? What can we do to improve it? And then, we would give feedback to the folks making in the fab, on the process side, making these and saying, okay, well, maybe we can change this. Is this a good idea? And that sort of thing. So, yeah, so a lot of that, what I did was working on gallium nitride devices and analyzing devices in the lab, and a lot of crunching data. And so there's a lot of opportunity for like automating, like doing a lot of coding, either automating tests to do, because a lot of these tests like it takes like so long to do, like, you know, running things for like 1,000 hours or like even 100 hours. You have to be able to automate it. So that was a huge thing. You know, working with LabVIEW and as well as other things like Python, just different platforms, and just figuring out what's the best thing, because depending on the type of test and the type of system you have, you know, there's different types of tests like RF live tests, DC live tests, different types of you know, testing. You would need different tools, different platforms to automate it. So that was a huge part I did. And then also a lot of number crunching and just parsing data and looking at all the data and like hundreds of devices, looking at like what the voltages and currents look like, and basically being able to analyze it, because yeah, you can't just look at one device, you know, or a small number of them. You have to kind of, it's like a statistical thing. So that was a huge thing I did, using things like Mathematica and other programs to look at data and see like, okay, what's the best way to A, analyze it, and then B, present it to people. And so yeah, so with that, we had a lot of, we had programs funded by the government to kind of mature these technologies. And so yeah, so that was a huge thing that I worked on, very technical, on the R&D side. And so I'm still in R&D, but then now I work for the past, let's say, 2 years. I've been working as a program manager, which is completely different, not as technical. It's more on the management side, managing project schedules, like the spending and team communications. And that's a huge thing. I underline that because I think that's something that always gets forgotten. Like communication is a really, really huge thing with teams when you're working across multiple teams, especially on the, you know, making a chip. There's folks on the process side. Well, there's folks on the design side who design the device, design the chip, the circuits, and then you have folks on the process side who are in the fab making it, and then there are folks, you know, on the testing side and reliability. And so there's multiple, there's just multiple teams that you have to work with, and communication is a huge key. And so making sure that everyone is aware of like everything that's going on, all the issues, that's a huge thing. That's part of my job, is making sure that everyone is up to speed and everyone knows like what schedule we're supposed to be on, and that sort of thing. And another thing is maintaining and establishing relationships with customers and collaborators. So like I was saying, we do a lot of stuff with the government. For example, one project that I'm working on is modeling GaN devices. So a new type of modeling for gallium nitride devices. And that involves taking a lot of data. So when you do things like modeling devices, you need to just take tons of data on many different types of devices. And so you can get like the full picture of what a device, how is it going to behave, and then how is it going to behave over time. And so that involves really large amounts of data, and basically being able to crunch all that. And so actually with this project, with that particular project, the modeling project, we had an intern. He actually worked with us last year on the same project. He kind of worked a lot on automating the testing, helping us automate the testing that we needed to do for this modeling project. And then this past summer, he returned again, although, you know, due to COVID, it was a virtual internship. And because it was virtual, you know, he couldn't do a lot of the hands-on stuff like, you know, with the testing and hooking up devices, but he was able to do a lot of coding for us to do the like automating like simulations. So like we do doing simulations, and for example, ANSYS, that's a huge thing that we do, is to simulate devices and how they're going to behave, looking at the voltages and currents. And that was a big thing, is basically being able to automate. Let's say you realize you need to do like 6,000 different simulations, and you can't just go through in each one. So this was a lot of the work that he did, and it worked out pretty well. So yeah, so that's kind of like an example of projects that we have going on. And yeah, and another big part of my job is also just working and identifying different things we want to work on, based on networking with customers and people we work with, and kind of figuring out, well, what do we want to work on? What's the next technology? That kind of thing. So very different from my previous one, but it's just kind of goes to show the different types of roles that are available. There's just so many different types, different roles, even just for EE. And so I just figured I'll just to mention a couple other as example engineering roles for at least on the EECS side. There's design engineers. They basically design and develop the RF circuits, and they write like the specifications. And then on the testing side, there's if you like to code and write coding for like supporting production for RF components. So basically, yeah, writing the code for that. And there's a lot of setting up and debugging and optimizing the automation as well for testing. And that's just a couple examples that I can think of. There are many others. And so yeah, and just also to talk more about in general, working at Qorvo. I've been here for, I guess, yeah, since 2012. So yeah, almost 8 years. And so yeah, it's a great place to work. It's really good to be kind of like on the forefront of technology, especially in R&D. And yeah, it's a great place to work, and there's many opportunities to give back to the community, which is really great. So one thing that I've been working a lot with is this STEM education, kind of working with like engaging like the next generation, including like women in engineering, and just young kids, getting them excited about engineering. I've done a number of panels and kind of outreach and giving tours of the fab to events at Qorvo. This is all pre-pandemic, obviously, but we've had schools from like 4th grade all the way to high school coming to Qorvo, come to the site and have tours of our fab and the labs, and talk about like why, what we do, and what goes into making a chip and stuff. And it's pretty fun. And we've also done things with Tech Titans, where we've done smart girls camp and things like summer camps for girls, like 4th grade, 5th grade. And I did one in Wiley, where they get together in groups and figure out how to do the self-driving car kind of thing. It's cool projects like that to get kids interested in engineering, and especially to female students. It's always good to get them interested, since they may not have known other women in engineering. So yeah, so there's always plenty of opportunities to do that, either at Qorvo or like locally, like going to local schools and stuff. It's really good to get a chance to do that. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have. And yeah, I guess if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So let me see. I don't see any questions. Okay, I saw a couple questions. Oh, you mind discussing how I balance work and personal life? Okay, yeah, sure. That's a really good question. Yeah, no, it's definitely been challenging with this pandemic. I mean, obviously, like my kids are full time. So I have two kids. They're now in fourth and fifth grade, and that's been, they're doing the 100% remote learning. So they've been at home since March. And so, yeah, the other day I realized I've been working full time from home now. I don't normally work from home. And so, yeah, having kids at home and then having working from home, that's definitely a challenge. I think the big thing is, yeah, my husband's been very supportive and helping, or doing like his part in terms of the household stuff, the kids stuff. And yeah, that was a, but it's definitely, I think in the 8 years that I've had, it's definitely, I've learned a lot in terms of how to balance things. I think one thing is just not overthinking things and just thinking, okay, I'm going to do my best here, and then and that's and so it's going to be. And another thing for me that helps me a lot is exercise, and that kind of yeah, just making sure get a chance to exercise, and then now that my kids are older, it's a lot easier because then they can come, do things with me like bike riding or something like that. But yeah, that's definitely a thing that I think everyone struggles with. I guess that's probably the biggest thing I would say, is just recognizing that that's something that many people, especially women, like struggle with. And so you're not alone. I think that's the huge thing that I think everyone thinks like, oh, like I'm the only one like having such a hard time and everyone else is like able to balance things perfectly. And it's so not true. I mean, everybody is like, I mean, like at least, and it's hard, especially with this pandemic, because you can't talk to people as much. But I would say that's probably the hugest thing, is just the mere realization that yes, it's extremely hard. It will get better, easier as you get, further along. But I think that's like the hugest thing, is like recognizing that yes, it is, everybody struggles with that, and it's something that you're not the only one going through it. It's something that, yeah, unfortunately people don't talk about it as much, maybe because it's male dominated, or maybe because it's whatever, people don't, you just see on Instagram like people only showing like the fun, happy stuff. But yeah, I think that's probably a huge thing. And then, okay, so the other question is shift to remote work. Yeah, so that was interesting. It was really hard in the beginning, probably because my kids were at home. If my kids weren't at home, it would be, it would have been like a lot easier. But having to deal with like them and being interrupted constantly to like help them with schoolwork, that was hard. But at least in terms of me, for my job type, like because I'm a program manager now, and I didn't have to go into the lab, that was probably like, it was probably a bit easier for me, because I can do everything. I didn't have to be going in as much. But yeah, I think for me, like just noise canceling headphones, I think that was like one of the first things I bought, Bose noise canceling headphones, and that like helped me so much in terms of tuning out like any sounds from like kids or whatever. And yeah, just I think now 6 months in, it's much easier, and my kids got into this routine, so that helped a lot. Yeah, so internships open to people. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Without experience, I think so. I think, I mean, a lot of interns, it just depends on the fit. I think on terms of like the skills and what you're interested in, and like what just even experience in terms of like classes and stuff like that. I know when I was an intern, or when I was in college, I didn't have like research experience until I was like a senior or something like that. I don't know if that's like unheard of now, but I remember, yeah, I was kind of focused on classes and stuff like that in the beginning. So yeah, I think it basically just, yeah, I mean, it depends on just not in terms just experience in terms of like research or professors or whatever, working for professors, but also just like skills and what kind of things you're interested in doing. Yeah, and then the last question, interesting projects that either you or interns. So yeah, I think yeah, a key one was this modeling program that I managed, or I still managing, and an intern. We worked with an intern, and yeah, he did a great job in doing just helping us with a lot of the automation. And well, the first side, it was last summer when it was in person. We could work a lot on setting up this system to do RF life test, which is on like a very long test to do on these GaN devices, and so getting that set up. And there was just he really enjoyed doing that, and then helping us set that up. And then this summer, more on just getting things automated to do ANSYS simulations, which is like simulating a GaN device. And so it was kind of like, it was the same project, but it was like completely different tasks. And so that was kind of cool to get him, involved in that. And I know in R&D in the past we've had like 2 or maybe 3 interns, and that's just in R&D, which is kind of, a little small. I know we've had, I don't know at any given time how many interns we've had at the time, but I know we've had a decent amount just at the, Renner site. So yeah, great questions, everyone. Thanks. Yeah, I'm glad I could participate in this. This format is like totally new to me. I'm not as familiar with like this or like Discord. I just figured it out the other day. So I'm figuring out all this stuff that I was like, wow, it's totally new to me. And my 5th grader, it's just funny. He's like super into tech, and half the time he's like, oh, you just do this or do that, So yeah. All right, core UTD undergrads. Oh yeah. No, we have someone in R&D I know he's done an internship. He's been working full time for like 2 years, 1 or 2 years, and he's done internships at Qorvo before. Okay, interesting. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you should share it, and feel free to find me like on LinkedIn and stuff. I probably should have posted it, but yeah, it's just Anita Pacheco. My email's anita.pacheco@qorvo.com. Feel free to reach out and let me know if you have any questions or are interested in particular areas for internships and stuff like that.